Hey everybody, it's Allie Edwards, and welcome to Story 17 in my December daily album for 2024. I didn't come to my table today with a specific story in mind. I kind of know some of the stories that I still want to tell, some of the ones I've mentioned. I still want to do something about birthdays. I also, we have an event coming up on Sunday where my son Simon, is showing a fun little Christmas short movie that he put together. And he made a poster for that in one of his other classes. So I know that I want to bring that in at some point, but I want to wait till after we go to that event. So what I decided to do today is I went to my photos to just kind of look and see what photos I've taken this month or what photos people have sent me, that kind of a thing. And I found this one that Aaron had sent me of one of our cats. And I figured since we did Betty yesterday, we could do one of the cats today. So we have two orange cats. This is Ernie. He is the one that brought the snake into my office. If you followed along with that saga earlier in the year, he literally brought a snake from outside up the stairs into my office and dropped it on the floor as a gift. It was a whole thing. Like those are one of my least favorite things. So anyway, that's this guy. He is a complete mischief maker. And but he's also a good cat. And Aaron, my husband, is a cat whisperer. He's actually an animal whisperer. He just is really good at connecting with them, really. So this is a cat that he really connects with, and a cat that Isaac really connects with, the two of them. And this cat kind of goes everywhere. So this cat is sitting on top of the mantle. I liked that it was a fun photo of the mantle to just kind of show what we have. Like I got some of these big bottle brush trees. I left my hanging candles out. So I have hanging candles that I do at Halloween, and I just decided to leave them up this year and did a couple little faux wreaths and have some candles and then a couple garlands. So very simple this year, that's par for kind of what I'm looking at or wanting this year too. So I trimmed this one. This is 7 inches by 7 inches. So it's not the full page photo, thinking that I will, add something on here. I just wanted to give myself a little bit of flexibility in terms of what I wanted to do. And I think for the spread, because I really do want to get into these pages and use this for the birthday pages that I was talking about. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the photo over here. I also had this, like I was laying this out on here to kind of see. I'm not sure exactly how this one's going to end out yet. You guys know how that goes. It's just the process. I also grabbed some of the hearts. That was something I was wanting to include. There is this guy too. So maybe I'll do the ones that have the words on. I don't know yet. Maybe something with some hearts, maybe something with something. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do today for Story 17. Okay, so I wanted to look at a couple different pattern papers. I also was considering this one, being able to add that on. Yeah, it's not really exactly what I want to do, but I liked the idea of potentially like cutting this out and having it just be a round thing that would go over, or come onto this. I'm also thinking about, we didn't do very many wreaths this year in the collection. Last year we had a bunch of wreaths, and I have some of them in my stuff from last year, like this guy right here. Like this is another, that would be fun even as an add-on to this one. You can see this is even one that I like stitched on last year, and then I think I changed my mind. Actually, I think I moved it out of the other one. But yes, these are some of the ones from last year. So I do keep some of these things. I kind of feel like this would be fun. Would I have a pattern behind it? I have this guy out still. The blue's not really going with what I am going to have on the other page. Maybe that. And it might be better to just do something like this. Okay, here's a look at a couple things I considered that I didn't end up doing. I grabbed those large circle die cuts again. I keep grabbing them because I like them and they look like something I want to use. So I'm just kind of playing around with, maybe I would add these on here. Maybe I'll add the hearts on here. And I'm leaving this in just like I did the other day so that you can kind of see some of the ideas I considered. They're all just ideas, right? Again, it's not a right or a wrong. One of these ideas might spark something for you that takes you in a completely different direction that makes you excited. So that's why I like to leave these in so you can take a look at them, see if they fit your particular vibe, and or get you thinking about your supplies in a little bit of a different way. I'm like, maybe I could make a pocket with this. I could trim this down. I could add the hearts inside of here. I could, it's just me messing around before I finally make a decision and take some action, which ended up going in a significantly more neutral zone than I was starting here with the rainbow. All right, per usual, I am going through a variety of iterations on this one. And one of the things that I really do try to do when I am working on a page like this, especially one where it doesn't have a real specific direction, at least initially, is ask myself, what do I really want to do today, right? What story do I really want to tell? Do I want to use it? Do I feel like a lot of words? Do I feel like not very many words? Do I feel like I just want to, what's happening? Like that's a lot of, I try to take time to do that, right? Some days it's easier than others. So today I went over to my computer. Well, first I looked at a variety of things, right? I had the like a rainbow colored Christmassy paper. And then I remember this one and I pulled it out and I was like, oh, that feels nice. Like that feels calm. And, I love this whole part of it. So I was thinking, okay, well, maybe I'll cut this part and then maybe I can run it through my printer and add my story onto there, right? So that'll be, you can use the digital one, obviously, but I think today I'm going to try running this through see if I can get it right in the right spot and run it through the printer. And essentially, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold it up so I can try to see, is I want it to be in a spot where the peace on earth fits there, but the rest of it is going to get printed right on top. So I have that little title. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this paper. I'm going to temporarily adhere it onto here and then run it through the printer. Sometimes this works great and sometimes it doesn't. So my plan is that I am going to try it, and if it doesn't work, then I'll use the digital version and reassess myself there. But the first thing I'm going to do is trim this down so I can see essentially here that I want it to be right about here. And this is after looking at it pretty close. Whoops. Yeah, it doesn't really matter if I cut the paper out too right now because I'm just going to I'll reprint it again, and that way I can see exactly where it's coming out on my printer too. Okay, so it'll essentially be like this. Yeah, I kind of wanted it just a smidge taller. Well, I might trim this one down. We might do a little trimming on there because I want it to sit right there, and I just cut a little bit too much off the bottom. I could also do some ribbon down there. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so here's the print coming out of the printer. And what I am doing is watching it. I'm looking at it. Partly what I did, see where it has a little part top? Because when I had it in here, I want to see how exactly is it coming out of the printer. So that when I come over here and I add on, here, let's get you back in my little place here. When I adhere this on, then I know exactly where it's going to come out, right? And then it can be printed right on top of here. So this takes a little bit of trial and error. but I've been doing it for, quite a while. And then I'm just doing a little bit of adhesive so that it'll go through. Most of the time this works. The other thing that I'm going to do here is I am going to make sure that I take off the border. See how I had that border on there? I need to remove that before I print it because I don't want any of the black lines. Okay, so I set it back in there. You can see it still has the top mark, so I knew that that was where I wanted to put the top. And then we'll see how it comes out on here. Okay. That looks pretty good. Let's see what it looks like on here. And then you just peel it off. I don't really care if it's, a little bit. You could use a temporary adhesive. I'm using my regular adhesive. It's probably better if you use a temporary adhesive. Obviously, this part doesn't matter because it's all just going to be on the back. Ooh, yes, words, yay. Words, 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 words. Okay, so what I want here on this one is I actually want this to be right at that edge. So let's figure out where we're at here. Probably going to trim a little bit off on both sides here when I adhere this down onto that other one. I actually didn't even add any adhesive. I probably should. What am I doing? One thing I was thinking too, so this right here, this was from last year. This was one of the things I pulled out of my stash, but this was a little bit of the jumping off point for today's journaling and thinking about resetting, because that is kind of what I feel like in my head. So I was also considering just adding this in here. And part of what I like about that, oh, I love it, is that it brings in the red, because I still want to do something over here with the hearts. And I think probably what I'm going to do on this one is do like a couple quotes or something like that, because it's not necessarily like this could be a page on its own, right? Like it doesn't necessarily need to be connected to this one, but like I said, I want to get into this, so I'm going to try to figure out what else can I add in here that can be, somewhat related. Maybe it's a quote about peace or hope or Christmas or something. I don't know. We're not there yet. We're getting this part done first. Okay, so a couple things again. Here's where I have this thing along the bottom, or some space along the bottom. That's another place that I could add in some red. I like the look of that. Ooh, actually, I still can. I am going to run this through the sewing machine, put the red thread on there, because that'll be another nice little bit of red going across there. Okay, so now I need to figure out what I want to do along the bottom. So I'm going to look at my ribbon. Other options would be do washi tape along the bottom. Some of you guys from the Facebook group have now seen that this ribbon that I've used a few times, that May Arts has more of this ribbon in stock now. So I know people have been ordering that. It's just so cute. That would have been cute up there too. Here's like a washi roll along the bottom. That's also pretty cute. Brings in a little bit of rainbow. I don't know if I want that. What else could we do? We've got the red. We've got, let me look at my other ribbon. All right, so I found some red and white twill ribbon. This is some that I've had for a long time and have used over a number of years in my album. I'll see if I can find a source for you. I'm not sure if it's one I got on Amazon, but it's fairly thick, but it's also super cute. So what I did is I just ran rolling adhesive along that bottom edge there, and then I ran it through the sewing machine. So I like just the additional stitching on it. Then the next thing that I'm doing is I'm laying the photo of Betty from yesterday, or from story 16, on the back, because I could tell already, and I knew this already, that I was going to need to trim some of it off. So I'm just making some assessments on where that's going to happen. Like I don't want to trim off the bottom of the photo of Betty, but we can trim off the top of the photo here with Ernie. So just kind of making those sorts of decisions and then coming in and trimming off the excess. I think this time I used my just the craft knife and the metal ruler for most of the trimming. Sometimes I'll put it on the paper trimmer, and sometimes I just do it this way. It just kind of depends on how I'm feeling and what's going on, and sometimes it's just easier to do it that way. So using the X-Acto knife, using my scissors, trimming it out. That's what we do, especially when we're working back to back here, which is what I do most of the time in this particular project, at least the last couple of years. That's been a lot of the outside of the page protector stuff. Then I'm going to use my We Are Memory Keepers hole punch. I love this hole punch. It works great. You've seen me use the 6-hole punch, but I also use this one, and just kind of half the time it's whatever I grab. Sometimes it depends on the thickness. Okay, so I finished the first page, and now I'm moving into just kind of the playful portion of the second page. Again, the reminder being that I want to get into these pockets so that I can tell stories of the birthdays here on the other side of these pockets. So the first thing you saw me do is I pulled out one of my embroidery boxes that has numbers in it, and they're organized by number. So I actually have 2 boxes, and it's 1 through 31. So I pulled out a 17 from a couple years ago. And then I also grabbed this wreath that I talked about in the beginning of this video, I'm pretty sure. And it was one that I had left over from last year. I had used all the other ones that were a part of the kit. And what I'm deciding to do here is I cut it in half so that it can be back to back, right? So that on the other side, because this is a pocket, and I will just want to have this on the other side, like I'm kind of thinking ahead. I'm using a little bit of a extra piece of transparency that I had sitting here it's the one that says "'Tis the Season" on it, and I've already used it in a couple places. And then I'm just trimming the wreath there to get it so that it's in essentially the same place on both sides, right? It's not exactly the same, so there's a little bit of overlap. And then I'm trimming off along the bottom, and then I'm going to also trim off along the top. So this is what I wanted, was to be able to, see through to the next pages. And then as I was cutting this, I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll run this through the sewing machine too. And that's going to come up here in a couple minutes. But first I looked on the chipboard and I saw the "Let Your Heart Be Light" sentiment. And I was like, okay, that goes along really good with kind of the vibe that I'm feeling today. I'm feeling a little lighter. That's feeling pretty good. So at first what I was going to do was add it on top of the 17 chipboard number there. And I do this at first, but then I'm going to go back in and change it up, partly because the photo that I'm going to print out also has I did that in Photoshop. It has a little, I don't know what we call it, banner, has a little white box on there with some text. And then I felt like there were I didn't like having 2 rectangle things that both went across a top and bottom photo. So then I needed to pivot and change my mind and make some different decisions. So then that's going to result in me picking up a few of these things, as you will see here. I'm going to pull that guy off and see if I can put him in a different place, because I still like the sentiment, but I just didn't want it on top of that 17. I just knew that I wanted to do something a little bit different. On the tree, the bokeh tree picture, that one says something like, "I can't wait to sit and just sit there," something like that. So then what I decided to do was I got some more out of those sequins out that I used yesterday, because those just felt fun and festive, and decided to get them into that little space there inside of the wreath. And then I'm going to run this through the sewing machine around the wreath. So just doing like a half circle around the wreath there, and that will keep the sequin mix pieces inside of there. And then you will be able to see it on the front and the back. So I was pretty happy with that solution, and I liked that mimicked the wreath that you see on the other page. So next I was looking for possibly some things that I could layer on top of these cards that I already had in there. That's the Decking the Halls. That is one of the paper die cuts that actually fits right behind this 4x6 transparency if you wanted to use that. But I still wanted to use the 17, and I liked the look of the ornaments on top of that vellum piece. So I'm going to trim the transparency, and it will be layered on top of the vellum. And then I'm going to run that whole thing through the sewing machine right over the chipboard number 17, and that'll keep that in place. So if you don't have a sewing machine, you could hand stitch it if you wanted to. You could staple it. You could just adhere it on there. There's lots of different things that you can do. I just continue to really like the stitching. So on this Follow Law card, this one is from Liz Tamanaha's Paislee Press December Daily Mini Kit for this year. I knew that I wanted to add something on here too, because I pretty much figured that I wanted to add a little something fun to each one of these. So I'm grabbing the gold brads that I've used on a couple pages this year. These are from Amazon. I'm adding those directly on there, and I'm just going to do 3 vertically in a row. So it feels like it has a little bit of embellishing done on top of it, and I liked how that looked. So just a little bit of something. And then I have the tree down there where I had printed the words on the top, and I decided that I wanted to add a couple more things to that. So I'm adding a sticker from the advent calendar, and then I'm also going to add the Let Your Heart Be Light. I'm going to trim that down just a little bit so that I have essentially a rectangle of word phrases on there. And then the last thing that I decided to add on to this particular section was a star. And so I grabbed my box of star embellishments. It's not all the stars, but it's kind of like the ones I've had for a number of years. It's a tiny little like a sequin star. And so I used the paper piercer and I went through the middle of it. It has a hole in it already. And I decided to do a little French knot just to add a little bit of texture on there, and it just was something different than just adhering that little piece on there. So here's my French knot, twist it around, go back down. I can't teach it, but I can, but I can do it. So that was just kind of a fun way to add that little star on there. When in doubt, add a star. When in doubt, add a star. So I like how this turned out. I mean, I like the cat part with the writing the best. That's my favorite part, I think. But I also then like that I am moving into these other pockets, and I liked that I got to have a little bit of fun playing with some of the different pieces, both from my stash and from this year's collection. So now I'll be able to tell some birthday stories tomorrow. All right, guys, we'll see you back here again soon. Hope you have a great day.